Thanks very much, Paul. That really is a shit photo of me. I'm going to have to change it. So, look, I've actually presented here in Queensland over the last 3 or 4 years, always talking about Astral resources. And I think it gives a good roadmap of the growth that we've been on over the journey. So in November 2020, we presented, we'd been drilling for 6 months. Didn't have any ounces at all at our Mandilla project. Turned up in 2021, we'd grown it. 2022, we're up to just under 800,000 ounces. And then in 23, we actually hit the 1 million ounce mark at the Mandilla Gold Project. So today I'm in front of you and we've now grown to 1.27 million ounces, 37 million tonnes, 1.1 grams per tonne. We also put out a scoping study at Mandilla, which is really starting to shine a light on just how profitable that Mandilla story can be. So, long story short, we have a history of demonstrated resource growth, we have a history of delivery against milestones, and we plan on continuing to do both. So for those that are new to the story, we are a West Australian focused gold exploration and development company. We have our 2 assets. They are in the heart of the West Australian goldfields. So they're in that Kalgoorlie, Kambalda, Coolgardie region, and our projects are the Mandilla and Fayetteville projects. Combined, we have 1.4 million ounces there. 60% of those are in the high confidence indicated category. So now focusing in on those assets, on the screen you can see the map. Pay particular attention to Kalgoorlie, Kambalda and Coolgardie and our 2 assets right smack bang in the middle of those. This location already hosts 30 million tonnes per annum of gold processing capacity. Between Northern Star and Evolution, they're actually building another 15 million tonnes. So there's going to be 45 million tonnes per annum of processing capacity in that area alone. It's an extremely mature field. Prospectors have been here for 130 years, and as a result, large-scale, undeveloped open pit opportunities are becoming increasingly difficult to find. The scoping study that we put out has demonstrated that Astral is in possession of a large-scale open pit development opportunity that is very, very profitable. So we have demonstrated resource growth over the last 3 to 4 years. Since our last resource update in July last year, we've done diamond drilling, RC drilling and air core drilling at Mandilla, and we've done the same amount of work at Fayetteville. So we're certainly not standing still. And that Fayetteville project, we only turned our attention to it last year, and Camperman is demonstrating there are some stunning grades there for us. A little bit on the corporate stuff. The junior space has been pretty difficult. I'm not going to stand up here and say it's been all beer and Skittles. It's been pretty tough. But our share price has been relatively consistent through that period, and that's because there is inherent value in these mineable ounces. Rowan is going to get up and talk about Kin later on today, so I'm not going to blow sunshine up his backside, but they did a recent transaction in December last year, and they were getting paid $88 an ounce for their ounces that they sold to Genesis Minerals. So that inherent value is there. At the moment, I'm being valued at about $37, $38 an ounce. So there is a lot of upside in this project. From a board perspective, the boards need to continually be reviewed and moved through. And as we develop as a company, we look at the skills that we need. So a couple of years ago, we added Justin Osborne, a successful executive director in his own right and a very good geologist. And just recently, we've added Marc Connolly onto the board. He is an experienced mine operator, an experienced developer of mines, and very, very experienced in the M&A space. And then the management team, we've been together for 7 years. This is our second rodeo. The first one we took from IPO to a successful takeout inside 3 years. So we do have a track record of being able to deliver success. Okay, here's the Mandilla Gold Project sitting over the geology. Four deposits here. We've got Thea, Hestia, Eos and Iris. The last 500,000 ounces that we've added to this deposit has come in at an exploration cost of $17 an ounce. So we are still able to grow this thing cost effectively. Importantly, the scoping study converted 80% of the resources in Thea into a production target. So as you're growing your ore body, you need to be able to demonstrate at some point that it can make money. You demonstrate that by putting out a study, and 80% of the ounces in Thea was able to convert into that production target. Thea drives the financials for the scoping study. It is the only 1 million ounce single open pit deposit in the WA goldfields that still belongs to a junior company. and I'll say this a few times, something that is increasingly difficult to find invariably becomes very, very valuable over time. Okay, so the chart here just shows our resource growth journey that I spoke about through the introduction. We've been growing since 2020. We absolutely want to keep that trajectory going. In July of last year, we put out a resource update. That resource update was actually focused on infill drilling, trying to increase the amount of indicated ounces. We got a 69% uplift in indicated ounces, but even though we were focused on infill, we still added 230,000 ounces of new growth at $18 an ounce. Very, very cost effective. That July resource update gave us enough critical mass in those indicated ounces to then publish a scoping study. So in September of last year, we published a scoping study. It's mining 883,000 ounces from 3 deposits, Thea, Eos and Hestia. 70% of those ounces are in that higher confidence indicated. So that production target, 70% of them are in the indicated category. It is a very conventional open pit. It has a low strip ratio. It has a relatively strong grade profile of 1.3 grams per tonne for the first 7.5 years, producing at 100,000 ounces per annum. The processing for Mandilla is very, very simple. 3-stage crush, single-stage ball mill, carbon and leach for recovery of the gold. The recoveries are over 95%. 70% of that recovers in the gravity circuit. This is a very, very nice deposit from a metallurgical perspective. The reagent consumptions are low, and we achieve that recovery at 150 micron grind size. So when you see people put out a study, they'll tend to do their MET test work at 75 microns. So to go from 150 microns to 75 microns, you double the amount of power, the energy you have to put in to achieve that size reduction. So we have a cost advantage there as well. It's a large-scale process plant, 2.5 million tonnes per annum, 8 years worth of mining, 10.5 years worth of processing. With our scoping study, we did the geotechnical design work, the detailed mine design work, and the scheduling to a DFS level. And the reason we did that is 60% of your operating costs are actually in mining. And we have spent the extra effort in the disciplines that are really going to matter. And that's important because when we go to pre-feasibility, that hard work is already done. So we're not expecting any surprises, and we're expecting to be able to grow this project and make it look even stronger. So quickly on the financials. We used a gold price of $2,750. This week, when I was just playing with my financial model, I used $3,080 because that was the gold price earlier this week. I think it's $3,100 today. Important point is that the gold price is conservative at $2,750. Using that number, it had a payback of 9 months. That graph shows how quickly we go into positive cash flow territory, 9 months from when we turn the button to the process plant. The internal rate of return is 73%. The project generates $740 million worth of free cash flow. Using $3,080 gold price, it's $1.01 billion worth of free cash flow. The net present value, which is talking about that future value, using an 8% discount rate, is $442 million. If I use $3,080, it's $623 million worth of net present value. And the all-in sustaining cost comes in at a pretty reasonable $1,650 an ounce. Okay, here is Thea in long projection. This is what our 1 million ounce open pit looks like. We are continually trying to improve our understanding of this ore body, and potentially a really good way to think about that is in the 2022 diamond drill program, we averaged effectively 97 gram metres across that diamond drill program. So when I'm talking about gram metres, I'm talking about the grade of the intersection times by the distance of that intersection. And because we're drilling through multiple intersections as we drill down the ore body, we're summing them up. So there's 97 gram metres in the 2022 program. First half of 2023, it's 108 gram metres. The most recent program, which we finished reporting in January, 137 gram metres. So that's 2 years worth of us demonstrating our knowledge is getting better and our ability to target this ore body is improving. Another important point to note about this ore body is when I look on a map of our deposit and I look 100 kilometres in every single direction from Mandilla, there are only 2 ore bodies that are bigger than Thea. You've got the Super Pit, which belongs to Northern Star, And then you've got their Red Hill mine out at Kanowna Belle, also a Northern Star mine. So we are the third biggest deposit, 100 kilometres in every single direction of Thea. So these large-scale open pit deposits in a region as mature as Kalgoorlie are becoming more and more difficult to find. Something that's hard to find, invariably, over time will become more and more valuable. Okay, 2 slides that I want to talk about Fayetteville quickly. So as a reminder, Fayetteville is the project that's only 14 kilometres south of Kalgoorlie. It's a very nice jurisdiction to be looking for gold in. You've got the 92 million ounce Kalgoorlie super pit, only 14 k's to our north. You've got Northern Star's South Kalgoorlie operation, which is a 3 million ounce camp, which is 10 k's to our south. And then a further 35 kilometres south, you've got the St Ives gold mine, and that's a 20 million ounce camp. So it's a pretty good location to be looking for gold. We have 116,000 ounces here. It's all at Think Big, which is one of the targets. And to put it into context, if we were to find high-grade gold at Fayetteville and truck it to Mandilla, using today's gold price, it would use 0.1 grams per tonne of revenue to truck that material, because it's only 50 k's distance. So any high grade we find here is like the icing on the cake for the Mandilla Gold Project. We only started drilling here in January of last year, so it's a relatively new focus area for us, and Camperman is certainly developing into a very high priority target. So here is Camperman. We drilled 13 holes into this in 2023. So relative to the amount of drilling we do at Mandilla, we have done next to no drilling here at Camperman. But 7 of those holes have returned significant high-grade results. We've got 4 metres at 95 grams per tonne, 21 metres at 4.2 grams per tonne, 35 metres at 10.2, 10 at 5, 5 metres at 5.9. And then we recently just did a 3-hole diamond drill program. And that diamond drill program, we were actually looking to target the stratigraphy. We were trying to understand the rock units. So we arranged the orientation of our drilling to hit the rock units perpendicular. We weren't targeting the mineralisation, but we still end up with 3.7 metres at 12.2 grams per tonne, 1.3 metres at 9.2 grams per tonne. So our strike rate at Camperman here is exceptional at the moment. And remember, any high grade that we mine here, whether it's Think Big, Rogan Josh, Ethereal, Hyperno, Camperman, there's a bit of a Melbourne Cup theme here, I didn't name them, will add significant free cash flow to our project. So, in closing, our scoping study at Mandilla demonstrates that we have an exceptionally profitable open pit development opportunity. The study has been done to a high degree of detail, arguably much better than the scoping study that it was advertised as, and certainly in the disciplines that really are going to matter going forward. The additional drilling that we're doing is continuing to build our understanding, and it will demonstrate additional growth. And I think there is no better evidence of that than the diamond drill programs going from 97 to 108 to 137 gram metres. I mean, they are good results. The metallurgy for this project is very simple. The processing technology is absolutely proven, and the risk, the technological risk to turn on a gold plant is very, very low. The revenue assumptions are conservative by today's standard. If I use $3,080 gold price, that internal rate of return jumps to 98%. The net present value is $623 million, the free cash flow $1.01 billion. And since our last resource update in July of last year, as I've said, diamond, RC and air core drilling done at both Mandilla and Fayetteville. We've got an RC program starting within the next week at Fayetteville targeting Camperman. We are a company that will not stand still. We are focused on bringing both of those projects into development. And then potentially most importantly of all, there are no peers in our region that have the level of development opportunity that Mandilla presents. Single stage, open pit projects of this scale in a region as mature as the Kalgoorlie region are becoming increasingly difficult to find. Something that is increasingly difficult to find invariably becomes very, very valuable over time. Thank you.